If you're around your early 20s and liked watching Nicktoons as a kid, then you probably remember a time when Nickelodeon was constantly releasing video games based on their cartoons. Every year would see the release of multiple games based on series like Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, SpongeBob SquarePants, Danny Phantom, and even series that were getting a little bit older like Rugrats. But the real special treats came when the Nicktoons gods would bless us with one of the fabled crossover games. In 2002, we got Nickelodeon Party Blast, which was developed by the same team behind Ninja Breadman. It currently sits with a whopping 19 out of 100 on Metacritic. Okay, but in 2004 we got Freeze Frame Frenzy, which is kind of like a 2D on-rail shooter, but Arnold can't have a gun, so instead they used cameras. Oh, and speaking of cameras, 2004 also gave us Nicktoons Movin' for the PlayStation 2 iToy. I don't really need to say anything else, you can glean the quality of the game just from that. Okay, maybe some of these Nicktoons games aren't worth remembering, but really the ones that my generation seems so fond of are these 4 released yearly between 2005 and 2008. Nicktoons Unite, Battle for Volcano Island, Attack of the Toy Bots, composed by Mick Gordon, and Globs of Doom, or sorry, SpongeBob SquarePants featuring Nicktoons, Globs of Doom. I forgot everyone else got demoted because of the recession that year. Those first 3 were all developed by Blue Tongue Interactive, which scholars might recognize as a studio that went on to make De Blob. The last one, Globs of Doom, was developed by a different team at Incinerator Games, and boy did it show in the game's quality. Did you know the console versions had a bug where they would randomly corrupt your save file? I knew that. I knew that all too well. In general, these games seem pretty mixed nowadays. If you're a grown-ass adult and you've never played any of them, you'll probably not be too fond of them. But if you grew up with them like I did, then it's more than likely you have a soft spot in your heart for them. Man, oh man, if only there was a Nicktoons game out there that I could attempt to convince people was actually good. Hark! Is that the sound of a SpongeBob SquarePants Game Boy Advance SP I hear? Of course. I'd forgotten about the portable versions. Yes, despite most of the console games being developed by Blue Tongue, these portable games were handled by a mix of different studios. For example, Natsume developed all of the DS games except Nicktoons Unite, which had both its DS and Game Boy Advance versions developed by Climax. Climax? Yeah, unlikely for me looking at these graphics, am I right, fellas? And that leads me to the true subject of today's video, the Game Boy Advance version of Battle for Volcano Island, which was developed by Halfbrick. If you owned an iPod Touch around 2010, then you should recognize that name. They're the studio behind some of the most well-received phone games of that era, Fruit Ninja, Age of Zombies, and of course one of the greatest of all time, Jetpack Joyride. Impressive track record for sure, but how well can Halfbrick fare when making a mobile game on not the phones? This is my childhood copy of Bivvy, and it looks just like how it did the day I bought it. The label it was born with torn off and replaced with a piss-stained piece of paper taped on in its place, then slapped with a price tag. The memories are starting to flood back, so without further ado, let's take a look at Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island. Released on October 24th, 2006, day and date with the console versions, Battle for Volcano Island is a 2D platformer that gives hints of a collectathon. You play as SpongeBob SquarePants, Danny Phantom, Timmy Turner, and Patrick Star as you traverse the titular Volcano Island on a quest to stop the evil Magu, who is, capable of destroying the multiverse, I guess, I don't know. In order to stop the Magu, our heroes set out to find parts to build what Jimmy calls a Rip Zipper. These parts are like the power stars of this game, placed neatly at the end of every level in a green bag. Nice, just what I needed to build a Rip Zipper. A fork, a traffic light, and somebody's kidney. There are 5 worlds in the game, and a hub world that connects them, plus a few secret bonus levels. Each world starts with one bigger level you must complete to unlock a new ability or character, before being given access to 3 more levels that you can tackle in any order. Aside from the Rip Zipper parts, each level also has 5 gold hearts to find and collect. And I don't say these things lightly, but these gold hearts are actually genius game design. You see, they're not just any normal collectible, because as soon as you grab one of these hearts, it's placed at the front of your health bar, and taking any damage will destroy that heart you collected. So in order to get everything in a level, from the moment you grab your first golden heart, you have to finish the rest damageless. On paper, this sounds like it could be frustrating, but in practice, it hardly ever is. The levels in this game are only ever a few minutes long, so when you inevitably have to restart the stage, you don't feel like you wasted much time. To understand this feeling, here's an example with a game that more people have played, Guitar Hero. When you're going for a full combo in a Guitar Hero song, you're not going to get it on your first try. You'll probably have to play the same beginning sections of the song a good dozen times, but eventually you'll get that perfect run and finish it.
Yes!
And the feeling of achieving perfection in something like that is reward in and of itself. So that's why I love collecting these little golden hearts. But if this still sounds terrible to you, you actually don't have to do any of that. Their only use is unlocking the doors to the secret levels, which you wouldn't even want to play unless the gameplay were rock solid. Well, unfortunately, the gameplay is not rock solid. It's goddamn diamond solid. That one wasn't that funny, but thank you anyway. You can freely switch between the 4 characters, each of which is gifted with 2 abilities unique to them, all of which are needed to finish the game. SpongeBob is the character you start with. His first ability is blowing bubbles, which can activate switches and dispel Maw goo that hangs from the ceiling. Holding down the B button will have SpongeBob charge his bubble, which will make it shoot out further when eventually released. You might think that the bubbles can be used to dispel enemies, but they actually have no effect. The enemies in this game are actually and serve more as moving obstacles than anything else. Quite the contrary from the console versions, where you kill hundreds of these things. SpongeBob's other ability is the worm, or maybe it's a drill.
Bro, fight the power!
By pressing R, SpongeBob will burrow into specific sandy spots and swim through them, but the controls aren't so straightforward. As you're swimming, SpongeBob constantly wiggles back and forth, and his hitbox is exactly what his sprite looks like. So when you're trying to swim through a tight section surrounded by spikes, you need to account for what direction SpongeBob is going to wiggle into next. He also can't magically change direction in an instant. He has to actually spin around if you want to go in the opposite direction. These worm sections were some of my least favorite in the game, but it's not too bad. I can tell they designed it to control like this intentionally, since they'll place gold hearts that look deceptively easy to get but are actually a real pain in the ass. Before you even reach the end of the first level, you'll unlock Danny, who technically has 2 abilities, but really they combine to make 1 complete ability. Pressing R will make Danny go ghost, which simply lets him go through these specific rock platforms. But by the end of the second level, you unlock the second half of this ability, which allows him to see ghost platforms, which he can only walk on when he's in his ghost form. This is often used a lot to have hidden areas you would only see if you were playing as Danny, but the real fun of the ability comes from the tight-ass platforming it brings. There are a lot of sections where you'll have to switch between normal and ghost in perilous situations, or in midair, and damn is it satisfying. The switching is near instant, and it makes this really satisfying sound and visual effect when you use it. If you've ever played WayForward's Mighty Switch Force, this ability is a lot like that. Danny is probably my favorite character to play as in this game because it's just so satisfying to pull off some of these sections. Next is Timmy Turner, who is waiting trapped behind this goo in the second world, but you don't actually need to clear the goo. He was sure enough to easily walk under it the whole time.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
Timmy's main ability is slingshotting himself off of these rings like he's an Angry Bird. While holding down R, you can press the D-pad in the direction of the ring to loosen your throw, or away from the ring to strengthen it, then adjust with left and right. The physics feel surprisingly accurate and weighty. In sections where more precise aim was required, I felt like if I missed, it was my fault for not paying more attention in physics class. Timmy's second ability is just an extension of this one, making it so he glows when he's getting ready to slingshot, and he can smash through rocks now. This ability is practically useless though. You don't unlock it until the final boss, and it's barely used in that level too. I think the only reason they made it was so they could say Timmy has 2 abilities just like everyone else, and so there was something blocking the 100% completion bonus room, ensuring you beat the final boss before you go there. The last character is Patrick, who is unlocked at the start of the 4th world. Gee, SpongeBob, how come you get 2 characters? Despite being introduced pretty late into the game, Patrick gets a lot of time to shine and show off his abilities within those last 2 worlds, even if he's naked for half of that time. Patrick's first ability is to stick to special sticky walls in the background. It's pretty fun to use, and the level design around it can be interesting, but it's not the most awe-inspiring ability in the game. In the final world, Patrick finds his pants and gets his second ability, which is to shoot out of these cannons and glide around using his pants. The developers kept some of these sections fresh by also introducing updrafts that keep you afloat while you're gliding. And that's all for the characters. but it matters not what their abilities are, but how they are used in the levels. This brings me to my second stanza on why this game is secretly genius. I think the level design is consistently really smart with how it makes you use these abilities. With really only 6 unique abilities in the game, every one of them is constantly used in new and creative ways throughout the game's 23 levels. It never felt like the game was making me do the same things with the powers over and over again, and by the end of it, I didn't feel worn out or tired of using these abilities either. Now, there is something to be said about the environments feeling a little samey, but I think the constant cartoony charm of the sprite work keeps the game from ever feeling boring visually. I'm not sure if it's a blessing or a curse, but this game is very short too. I've beaten it multiple times before, but my recording for this video is a little under 3 hours, and that was me 100%ing it. I wish it were a little longer, but not double the length or anything, maybe just a few more worlds would have sufficed. The final boss of the game, or lack thereof, was pretty disappointing as well. It's just a linear level where you have to dodge the Magu's purple aura beams every once in a while. You don't actually fight him in any way. Reach the end of the level, activate the rip zipper, and that's it. You've completed Battle for Volcano Island. There is one more secret out there for you completionists though. Once you've beaten the Magu and collected all 115 golden hearts from all 23 levels, you can use Timmy's newfound rock breaking ability to bust through a wall and find a hidden room where the fucking monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey is waiting to congratulate you for completing the game. Thanks, man. And that's it for Battle for Volcano Island on the GBA. As mentioned previously, Halfbrick would go on to make Fruit Ninja and Jetpack Joyride, which would net them roughly $1 nonillion. The associate producer for this game, Michael Dobele, would go on to be a developer on Fruit Ninja before leaving Halfbrick and joining Protostar, another mobile game company, in 2016. The game designer for Volcano Island, Dan Vogt, who was a co-founder of Halfbrick, would end up being a designer on Fruit Ninja Connect, which was one of 2 good Connect games, before also leaving Halfbrick in 2011 and going independent. So Godspeed, you beautiful soldiers who developed this game, and congratulations Volcano Island for receiving the much coveted Lime Jinjo 4.5 out of 5 Limes award. I really recommend this game. It's a fun little platformer you can beat in an afternoon, and it's really dirt cheap. So Mysterious Floating SpongeBob SquarePants Game Boy Advance SP, do you think I did a good job convincing people to check out this game?
Nah, probably not.
Yeah, that's fair.